Happy Father's Day, everybody. I love Kathy. Kathy always says, Happy Fathering Day. Happy Fathering Day. And I appreciate that because within each and every one of us, there is both the divine masculine and the divine feminine. We all have masculine and feminine qualities. And I'm not exactly sure where it arose, but it seems like we have kind of an archetype of the masculine and the feminine on our planet. And the masculine archetype is power, and it's strength, and its stability. And if you identify with that at any time in your life or have, would you raise your hand? Yeah. Right? So we've all had that kind of experience where we felt powerful. Now, the interesting thing about power is it's not overpowering. That's not power. Overpowering is bullying. But true power is empowering others. And that's really the beauty of it. And so the divine masculine on Father's Day is a day to recognize the power that's in each and every one of us. And it's also to honor our fathers. Each and every one of us had a father. So kind of important. We're all made it here. We're all alive. So we all had a father. And even if your father experience was challenging or difficult, there was that seed that caused you to be born. And so no matter what, it's an opportunity to be grateful for your own life, to be grateful for who you are in this world. And I had a really good experience with my dad. He died in 2009. He died in June of 2009. And it's Father's Day for me has been very challenging. Until this year, I'm starting to get to the point where I'm just remembering the love and I'm having less and less of the grief. But one thing I really loved about my father was that he was very loving and he was adventurous. So some things that I did as a kid is he would take my brother and I, and sometimes my stepbrother, with him out to go to like abandoned mines, to all these places that my mom would not like him taking us to. Oh, he totally took us to those places. We'd be going in a cave and like with little flashlights. And, I remember one time we went to a cave and there was a big hole at the end of the cave. So if you had walked in without noticing, you could have fallen into the hole. I mean, it was this huge hole. It was really fun. We found pyrite. So I had, pyrite's fool's gold, like acres of fool's gold on this mountaintop. It was glittering, and we went and stuffed our pockets with fool's gold. And I went to a fluorite mine, and we were there, getting fluorite out of the actual mine in the wall, and it was really fun. I'm a rock crystal person. My dad got his degree in geology, and so he would always tell us the history of the rocks and what it was about. So I have a lot of crystals and things like that at home because it's kind of that adventurous thing. And what I really loved and appreciated is that he helped me identify with the beauty of nature, with going out and exploring and having this sense of freedom. Just being able to go anywhere. And I would say as we were driving, oh, look, Dad, there's like a hole in the mountain. Let's go find out what it is. And he'd pull off the car off the side of the road, and we go, okay, let's go. Let's go hike up that mountain into this random hole we just saw. So I really appreciated that about him. And it reminds me of how important it is that we have freedom in our life. When we talk about this month of freedom from discord, freedom is the key word. What is freedom? The true sense of the word freedom. If you were experiencing true freedom, what would that be like for you? This is what I want to think about and cultivate as we're starting to imagine a world that works for everyone, which is what our global vision is. Neville Goddard said, "Imagination is the beginning of creation. You imagine what you desire, and then you believe it to be true. Every dream could be realized by those self-disciplined enough to believe it. People are what you choose to make them. A man according to the manner in which you look at him. A man is according to the manner in which you look at him. You must look at him with different eyes before he will objectively change. And he says, 2 men looked from the prison bars. One saw mud and the other saw stars. And I wonder, where are you looking? Have you ever shifted your perspective on somebody or somebody before, right? You had, they're such a terrible person, and then you start getting to know them, and all of a sudden it kind of dissipates. Or the first impression that you got from somebody really had nothing to do with who they really are. Have you ever had that shift and change? Yeah, me too. So if we're going to create a new idea for this world, I'm really into this. I don't know if you knew that. I'm really into this goal, this global vision that we have that's about creating a world that works for everyone. Especially because of last week. Especially because of last year. A year ago, almost, I think it was on the same day, was the AME Charleston shooting. So that was when a gunman went into an African American church and gunned down a whole bunch of worshipers. And then last week we had a gunman go into a gay club and gun down a whole bunch of, party goers focused on the LGBT groups. And whenever I see things like that, my whole world is disturbed. My whole world is shaken. And I invite myself to look at that idea, freedom from discord. Well, I'm feeling discordant. I'm upset about it. I'm a lesbian, if you didn't know it. By the way, it was targeted at my community. And it doesn't make it any different than being targeted at the African American community. That disturbed me just as much. If it was targeted at women or targeted at men, who cares? What it's showing is that there is an underlying systemic change that needs to happen. And who are the people to make it happen but us? We are the people to make it happen. Now, it might seem like a big old, hairy, audacious goal to create a world that works for everyone. And I'm committed to the idea that we can bring it about. We can bring it about. How do we do that, though? I'll tell you. You want to know the secret? Yes. The first thing is to imagine that there's already wholeness happening. There's already wholeness happening. Far too often we're seduced in taking actions that are fueled by fighting against something. And I spoke about this last week. Fighting against something. I want you all to clench your fists. Clench them really tight. Okay, now open them. Okay, what feels better? When you're clenching your fist, you're fighting against yourself. When you're open to not only give, but receive. Both places. And that's the secret. When we're talking about freedom, this is freedom. Being open. The opposite of freedom is being closed. And think about that. Now, this may bring you into some uncomfortable spaces because there may be places in your life where you're closed. I've noticed that about me. We might think that we have to fight for or force a change to happen. But really, it's our opportunity to dream up, to imagine the new world. Again, Neville Goddard said, imagination is the beginning of creation. You imagine what you desire and then you believe it to be true. Imagination is the beginning of creation. So our opportunity, our responsibility is to bring the imagined state of wholeness that we know as if it already exists in all situations. What you do is you begin with a desire. Neville Goddard, again, he says, you must imagine as if you are already experiencing what you desire. What would it feel like? What would it be like if we were living in a world that works for everyone? Imagine that. The second thing is to get still. In the Psalms 46:10, it says, "Be still and know." Once you feel and experience that imagination, then be still with it. Be still and know. Be still and know it as if it's already happened. We are already living in a world that works for everyone. Remove all seductions to talk about the problem or the issue. Align with and be accountable with others that share your desire. Now, I'm not saying that I can't talk about what happened in Orlando. I can. But what if I take it from a new direction? What if I recognize that something has shifted because of it? I asked myself when I was writing this, how is the Orlando shooting an example of the ever-present nature of good? Did you know that JetBlue offered free flights to all family members who were victims? As a matter of fact, I read this beautiful Facebook post about a flight attendant who was privileged to have a grandmother of one of the victims fly on her flight. And they made sure that there was a JetBlue representative with her from the very beginning. As soon as they knew she was on the property, they had a person with her taking care of her, making sure that she had her every need met. And then what she decided to do is she wanted to have signatures of solidarity. So as they were passing refreshments down the rows, they talked to every single passenger and they started handing out paper so people could sign the paper. And their idea was they were going to give the signatures to the grandmother so that she would physically know that all those people on the plane were with her. They were sending their love to her. But what really happened is the plane took over this idea and made it way better. They didn't just sign the paper, they wrote love notes. They wrote appreciation, support. And then every single person on that flight stopped by as they were exiting and they gave this woman a hug. And nobody complained that it took forever to get off the plane. Every single person stopped by and gave the woman a hug. Does that give you faith in humanity?
Yes.
Yes. Is that a world that works for everyone? Yes. That's the kind of things I'm talking about. I was talking with one of my friends. She lives in North Carolina. And before all this happened, there's been a lot of things in other states about transgender rights. And it's very interesting because there's a lot of things that I don't know, and I'm okay with that. But she went to a transgender allies meeting so she could become educated because there was a ban put on anybody walking into the bathroom that wasn't their birth gender. So, for instance, if you used to be a woman and then you got your surgery, you became a man, and then you started taking testosterone, and if you know, testosterone gives you muscles, it gives you hair, it gives you all these features of a man. Your body physically changes, and then they want these beautiful transgendered people to go. So this man would have to go into the woman's bathroom. Now, how awkward is that for everybody? Right? Completely awkward. And so what my friend, who's she's just an ally, but she decided to start walking into men's bathrooms just to fight this thing, just to show people like how ridiculous this is, because they don't know that she couldn't have been a man before. So she starts walking into men's bathrooms, and it brought up to me. I thought, oh, you're so awesome, you're so cool, right? And then I thought, could I do that? Honestly, it makes me uncomfortable. It makes me uncomfortable. Now, if just that little thing makes me uncomfortable, how much do I need to change? How much do I need to open to this idea? How much compassion can I have for the people that just want to go to the bathroom in the gender that is the gender that they choose, that they believe and know is their true gender? It's tough. But that's the idea, is can you put yourself in a place that makes you uncomfortable to stand up for a world that works for everyone? Are you willing to do that? Do you have any idea how it feels to be transgendered? I don't, but I can learn. I can talk to my transgendered friends and I can have compassion. Do you have any idea how it is to be a gay man? I don't. But I have heard from my gay brothers the challenges and how many of my brothers have altered their behaviors to fit in because they couldn't be who they really want to be. Or do you know what? Do you have any idea how it feels to be a lesbian? I do. I have seen firsthand the experience discrimination, but I'm young. I know that there are so many of my lesbian, gay, transgender, queer brothers and sisters that fought for rights. Like, I actually got a job at Stanford that I was okay being out in for 11 years. Some of my friends got fired from their jobs, and some of them still are. So, do you have any idea what it feels like to be a woman? Do you have any idea what it feels like to be somebody with dark skin? Or an Asian? Or a larger person? Or somebody who's incredibly skinny? Or somebody who's very, very tall? All of these experiences are things that cause others to create discrimination. Now, I want to live in a world that works for everyone. And in order for me to do that, I need to bridge that gap. This is where our book comes in, the book of the month. This is amazing. It's a very tiny book, much tinier than last month's book, by the way. I don't know if you tried to read last month's book, but it was a big book. So Pema Chodron, who wrote this book, she is a Tibetan Buddhist, and she says that there's 3 commitments in life. And these are commitments to embrace the chaotic, unstable, dynamic, and challenging nature of our situation as a path to awakening, as a path to enlightenment. Doesn't that sound alluring? It does to me. I like it. The first commitment: do not cause harm to others with our actions, words, or thoughts, and be unattached to our anger, jealousy, self-doubt, or blame. Now, last week, I invited you to refrain from speech and actions that would be harmful to yourself or others. Who took me on last week? All right, yep. And who was 100% successful? I wasn't. I'll be honest. It's very interesting. If I could be 100% successful. Now, we didn't say not having the thoughts. You might have the thoughts, but you got to be unattached to them. Which means you don't take action. You don't actually say out loud, what a jerk that person was. You might think it, but then you notice. I noticed that I thought that. And the action doesn't happen. Stephanie just said, we learn from people's actions. Your actions will be in alignment with a world that works for everyone. When you start acting as if we live in a world that works for everyone. Your thoughts may take a little time to catch up. But that's okay, because you will catch up. You will.
Trigger feelings just as feelings trigger actions.
Right, actions trigger feelings just as feelings triggers actions. So act first, even if you don't feel like it. Even if it's uncomfortable, which is a perfect segue into the second commitment, which is what I wanted to talk about, which is taking action to help others. I love what she says in here. Compassion is threatening to the ego. When we set out to support other beings, when we go so far as to stand in their shoes, when we aspire never to close down to anyone, we quickly find ourselves in the uncomfortable territory of life not on my terms. So the second commitment is also known as the Bodhisattva vow, or the warrior vow. Really? Because it takes courage, strength, and power to be somebody who empowers others, who is open to other ways of being, who's willing to change themselves to help create a world that works for everyone. It takes courage. Perfect for Father's Day. The power. It challenges us to dive into the non-cozy waters and swim out beyond our comfort zone. That's what she says in this book. So I want to encourage you to do something that's outside of your comfort zone, but supports other people. I have some ideas. You could attend a vigil for Orlando, if you haven't already. You could acquire a new friend who has a different religion than you. How many Muslim friends do you have? Kathy has 2. Pat has 2. All right, 2. Everybody's 2. That's good. We've got 5 over there. 1, yeah. Yeah, isn't that interesting? Now, the Muslim community is also feeling the hurt on this because it's not their religion to be violent. I just wanted to make that very clear, that the Muslim religion, Islam is a religion of compassion and love. As a matter of fact, they believe in all the prophets that have, if anybody has had more than 1 million followers, they believe that they're a true prophet. So Jesus, they study Jesus, teach his teachings. It's really interesting. It's a religion of love and service and compassion. Love and service and compassion. As a matter of fact, when I started this center, I talked to Sadia, who is the person in charge of the women's auxiliary for the Ahmadiyya Muslim community. And she said when they start a new center or a new organization, then all of the surrounding organizations, they give half of their income, or at least a large portion of their income, to that center for a certain, I think it's like for 5 years, to ensure their success. Talk about a world that works for everyone. They believe in creating service projects. Every month they have a service project for their community and beyond, for the local and global community. It's amazing. It's a beautiful religion. Beautiful. And that's why we teach here. We teach about all of the key religions. We are a spiritual center. We take those facets of all of these various religions, and we know that there's a string of truth. There's an underlying principles beneath each and every one of them that we study. We can learn from them. So I encourage you to talk to your friends and neighbors who are different than you. Go to a transgender awareness class. Do you have any idea what it means to be gender fluid? No? Well, see? Take it on to learn something new. So with this, I have to say that the second commitment, the vow, it is a place to move consciously into the pain of the world. This is what they say in the book. Consciously into the pain of the world in order to help alleviate it. It is, in essence, a vow to take care of one another, even if it's sometimes not liking how that feels. It is uncomfortable for me to hear about all of the microaggressions that happen to my African American brothers and sisters. It is really uncomfortable. It is really uncomfortable to hear about how Asians have been treated in the Bay Area. It is uncomfortable to hear that, but that doesn't mean that I can't be willing to listen and open to it and make a different change, create a different idea of possibility, especially if I've been committing some of those myself and didn't even know it. It could be happening to you. And so I want to encourage you to open up to those areas that are uncomfortable to you this week. Try it on for size. Think about where you're going to contribute to your local community, where you're going to contribute here. Think about if you're willing to step out of your comfort zone and attend something that stretches you. I want to do that because I want to believe, I want to know, I want to imagine, I want to create a world that works for everyone. Yeah. So let your actions have pure intent. Let your vision be true. And know that everything you're doing is an act of love for yourself and for the planet. Because that's what it's all about, isn't it? It's all about love. And so it is.